This LOS is explain the exercise value, time value, and moneyness of an option. Pricing and valuation of options. So we're still looking at European option pricing. And a European call option allows the holder to buy the underlying at expiration by paying the exercise price. Therefore, exercise price is justified only if the value of the underlying exceeds the exercise price. As I said, buy low, sell high. You have an exercise price, the right but not the obligation to buy at 100. It's worth something to you if the value of the underlying is above that. Say it's at 105, okay? Otherwise, the holder would simply let the call expire. So remember, the value of a European call at expiration is the maximum of 0, or the underlying price at expiration minus the exercise price. The underlying price of an expiration should be higher, okay? So the value of a European call at expiration is the exercise value, which is the greater of 0, or the value of the underlying minus the exercise price. Now for put options, we know that gives you the right but not the obligation to sell something. So as I said, you want to sell high and buy low. So the value of a European put option at expiration is the exercise value, which is the greater of 0, or the exercise price minus the value of the underlying, because we want the value of the underlying to be below the exercise price. Again, gives me the right but not the obligation to sell at 100. The underlying price is at 95. I'll sell at 95 and buy it at 90, okay? So we have seen this in the previous LOS. This is a very nice review when we get into this learning outcome statement, which is to explain the exercise value, time value, and moneyness of an option. So the exercise value is the value of the call or the put at expiration, okay? So a bit of a review here, but it doesn't hurt if it's your first time looking at options. So again, the effect of the exercise price, the exercise value of a European call option is the maximum of 0, or the underlying price at expiration minus the exercise price, because we want the underlying price at expiration to be above the exercise price. Buy low, sell high, all right? So the call is in the money if the price at expiration is above the exercise price, and it's out of the money if the underlying price at expiration is below the exercise price. So the value of a European call option is inversely related to the exercise price. Moving on to puts, recall that the exercise value of a European put is the maximum of 0, or the exercise price minus the underlying price at expiration, because we want the exercise price to be above the underlying price at expiration. Remember that a put gives us the right but not the obligation to sell, and I said sell high, buy low, okay? So if I've got the right, the exercise price is at 100, I got the right to sell at 100, I want to buy it back at 95, okay? So we want the exercise price to be above the price at underlying, so the put is in the money if the underlying price at expiration is below the exercise price, and the put is out of the money if the underlying price at expiration is above the exercise price. So the value of a European put option is directly related to the exercise price. And the intrinsic or exercise value is the amount in the money. And we're going to look at time value next, but I'm just going to put it here, and we're going to see it again, that the option price equals the intrinsic value plus the time value. Now we're going to look at the effective time to expiration. The value of a European call option is directly related to the time to expiration, because remember, options give me the right but not the obligation to do something. So the longer that I have in the future to have that right, that's going to be some value to me, because if we're looking at options on stocks, for example, stocks have volatility, and the longer the time that I have the option, the higher the probability that with volatility, I might be able to exercise my option. So time has a value, okay, with regards to options, because it gives me the longer the time, the more time value that I have, because it increases the probability of exercise. So the value of a European call option is directly related to the time to expiration. The value of a European put option can either be directly or inversely related to the time to expiration. So that's important. The direct effect is more common, but the inverse effect can prevail with a put. The longer the time to expiration, the higher the risk-free rate, and the deeper it is in the money, okay? So option price again equals the intrinsic value plus the time value. So we're just going to finish this LOS with a series of practice questions to help consolidate our understanding. The first one is, which of the following statements most closely relates to the concept of moneyness? A, the sum of money the option buyer pays the seller is called the premium. B, both call and put option prices decline as time to expiration becomes shorter. Or C, one would never exercise a call option if the price of the underlying is below the strike price. Okay, I like that question. It shouldn't be too difficult, but it shows you a lot of these questions with regards to derivatives. There's no calculations involved. It's just some theory and some terminology. So which of the following statements most closely relates to the concept of moneyness? It's C. One would never exercise a call option if the price of the underlying is below the strike price. Correct. A call option gives me the right but not the obligation to buy, so I want to buy low and sell high. If I could buy in the open market at a price lower than that I've got the right to buy, why would I exercise my option, okay? So C is correct because only an in the money option would be exercised, and moneyness describes the relationship between the price of the underlying and an option's exercise price. And so I copied and pasted from the previous slide. Recall that exercise value of European call is the maximum of 0 and the underlying minus the exercise price. The call is in the money if the underlying is above the exercise, or in this case they use strike price. Strike price, exercise price is the same thing, and it's out of the money if the underlying is below the exercise or strike price. Good question. So we'll do a quick practice question. Which of these statements is most likely correct for an option? Option price equals intrinsic value less time value. Intrinsic value equals option price less time value. Or time value equals intrinsic value less option price. Okay, I really like these questions. It's very typical of something that you see on the CFA, and the more you practice on the CFA exam, the more that you practice, the easier these become. And you see that I'm going to use the same kind of exam skill to answer this type of question. So I've got a real jumble of words here, okay? But it's based on an equation. The equation is the option price equals the intrinsic value plus the time value. So just using a bit of algebra, I need to rearrange that equation into the different forms and then match it up with what they're presenting to me. And I don't do these in my head, I write them out, okay? So option price equals intrinsic value plus time value. We should know that, okay? So therefore, the intrinsic value equals the option price minus the time value. I've just moved the time value over to the left-hand side, and you can see that matches up with B, that intrinsic value equals the option price less the time value. So B is correct. If you see A, option price, no, it's not less the time value, it should be plus. So that's wrong. And time value equals intrinsic value less option price. No, time value would equal the option price less the intrinsic value. Okay, so we can see C is wrong. Again, this is just a word game, but it's based on a fairly easy formula, and then just rearranging the formula and matching the words. We see that time and time again with questions in CFA level 1, okay? Another quick practice question. The intrinsic value of an option is always 0, A, at expiration, B, when its time value is 0, or C, when it is out of the money. The correct answer is C, because an out of the money option will have an intrinsic value of 0 at all times. So the intrinsic value of an option is always 0 when it is out of the money. So just 2 more practice questions. An investor with $5,000 to invest believes that the price of ABC Corp stock will appreciate by $7 to $95 in 2 months. The 2-month at the money put on 1 share of ABC stock costs $1.76, while the 2-month at the money call costs $1.56. In order to profit from his view on ABC stock, he will most likely A, sell calls on shares of ABC, B, sell puts on shares of ABC, or C, buy calls on shares of ABC. Okay, the correct answer for this is C. Now you've got $5,000 and you believe that the stock is going to appreciate by $7 to $95. That means the stock is currently at $88, okay? So there's 2 things. If you think the stock is going to appreciate, you could use your $5,000 to buy the shares right now, or you could buy calls, because calls give you the right but not the obligation to buy the stock, and if you think the stock is going to rise, then buying calls is a good strategy. So C is correct because buying a call gives the owner the right to buy the stock at the exercise price. The investor predicts that the stock will increase to 95 at the end of 2 months. He'll likely be able to sell his calls for at least $7 and realize a profit. One last practice question to finish this LOS. An investor purchases a put option on AAA shares that has a strike price of 50 euros and expires in 3 months. 1 month later, AAA shares are trading at 54 euros. At that time, the put most likely has A, positive intrinsic value but no time value, B, positive time value but no intrinsic value, or C, positive time value and positive intrinsic value. Okay, the correct answer is B. The put option has no intrinsic value because the share price is above the strike price. Because the option has a remaining life of 2 months, it will have some positive time value, okay? So it's got some positive time value, but no intrinsic value. So again, I said write these things out. It's a put option. So that's the right to sell at 50. So I want to sell high and I want to buy low, okay? So we know that we want the underlying price to be below 50. But here we can see that it's above 50. They're trading at 54. Why would I sell at 50 if I have to buy at 54? It doesn't make sense. Sell high and buy low. Just remember that. These questions become easy. So that's what I wrote down here. Think, I have the right to sell. Buy low, sell high, and buy low. Why would I exercise and sell at 50 when I could sell at 54, right? So this question should be easy. And that's the last slide for this LOS. Thank you.